Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Dr. Now, the Prevention Advocate. This week's midweek mentor moment. And so, as always, I hope that this live this week finds you doing well. I hope your week is going really, really, really well. I hope that you're being productive, you're being positive, you're making great stride, you're making the necessary changes, doing the necessary things that you need to do, that you are thriving, and that you're being all that the Creator created and made you to be. Okay, and so with that being said, this week's Acknowledge Nugget is about beginning necessary beginnings. And so a lot of times we spend a lot of time talking about necessary endings and, moving forward and moving on. But this week I want to spend a lot of time talking about necessary beginnings. And so it's necessary to begin some things, right? And sometimes beginning things can feel like a tug, it can feel like a pull, it can be very uncomfortable, it can seem like you being stretched or pushed beyond the max. And I'm not talking about anything dealing with, any kind of pressures, worries, and those type of things. No, this is when you're being challenged, to start something fresh, to start something new, to start something that you have never done before. It's almost like you're being stretched, you're being pulled to take like a huge leap of faith and just move forward and go for it. And a lot of times, again, that comes with a decision, and you have to make the decision to begin. And so a lot of times we're looking for change, we're asking for change, we're praying for change, we're crying out for change, we want change. But a lot of times, change would come, if we began to make necessary beginnings. Meaning, change comes when something ends and something else begins. And so a lot of times, we're looking for things, and we're looking for new opportunities. We're looking for new advantages, all for, purpose and good. We're looking, to be more progressive, more productive. We're looking to, change some old bad habits. But in order to do that, what? You have to begin. Okay. And so sometimes we be waiting, and we be looking for, perfect timing, or, you know, the right part, just we be looking for things that's not necessarily attached to the beginning. A lot of times things just they will come, but you have to begin. And so you can't stay small, you can't stay vague, you can't stay minimizing yourself, you can't stay downplaying yourself. And again, with what I'm speaking is, it's not encouraging egotism, it's not encouraging pride, it's not encouraging, upsetting someone, it's encouraging you to become what the creator has created and made you to be. And again, a lot of times that happens with you making necessary beginnings. And again, they're not always easy. Sometimes, again, anytime you're being stretched out of your comfort zone, it can feel like, sometimes things falling apart, or it can feel like a tear. It can just feel like, oh, something very, very uncomfortable. But it does not mean that it's a bad thing. And so assess, you hear me say that a lot, because that's important. A lot of times when making, necessary beginnings, it's important to assess things. It's important to, go over things. And what I mean by assess means taking some time out to get clarity, right? Not just being impulsive, but taking time to, do your homework, look over some things, spend some time doing some reflecting, spend some time, again, just gauging over, what has come and what has become. And then, decide, well, maybe it's time for me to make a necessary beginning. Change does not just happen you sitting there. New beginnings don't just happen, they stuff don't fall off the sky, right? You have to make some decisions. You have to make some effort. You got to put one foot in front of the other. You have to take that leap. And you can't wait on nobody else to do it. But again, assessing and understanding, everything has its time, its place, and its season. So being mindful of that, you shouldn't be all over the place. You shouldn't be up to date, making all these new beginnings. And again, wrong time, wrong place, wrong season, wrong people, wrong places, wrong things. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to assess first. Assess assess the situation, assess the circumstances before you make any, type of, move or any type of beginning. Make sure it's necessary. And so that's why I am emphasizing necessary. Okay. Because sometimes we do things as unnecessary because we human. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we make mistakes because we human. And so again, don't get stuck there. But today's mentoring moment is definitely, to encourage you to take a moment to, look at your life. We've come into the end of first quarter. Yep, just that fast. And so it's a good time to, take a season inventory. What has this season been for me? What has it not been for me? What could this season, excuse me, be for me? If I make some necessary beginnings. And again, that starts with you got to make some necessary choices. You got to make some necessary decisions. You might have to you might have to say some necessary goodbyes. You might have to say some necessary no's. You might have to say some necessary yeses. And a lot of times that doesn't always mean that it's easy and it's comfortable. But again, check yourself. Check yourself first before you proceed and do anything, and make sure you're doing it with grace. Make sure you're doing it in love. Make sure you're doing it with extending the same compassion and empathy and understanding that you would want. And again, excuse me, when you've done your part and you've done the best at your part, right? You've done the best at your part. I'm going to say that, emphasize that again. When you've done the best at your part, right? That's all you can do. Let go. Let go and move on. Okay? So, necessary beginnings. In order to make them, you got to begin. And we all have to start somewhere. Okay. And so don't look at your neighbor. Don't compare your life and your season and where you are in life with others. That's destructive. That causes a lot of anxiety and anxiousness and other things within itself. But this is really, really an encouragement, to beckon you to hey, take a look within and look over some things, and see where you need to make some necessary beginnings and make them. And a lot of times, this may not be something instant. This may be something gradual for you because we're all different. Everybody process information different. Everybody comprehend information different. Everybody understanding is different. I'm always championing you to look for things again that are productive, they progressive, they're to your advantage, right? And it doesn't mean that they take advantage of others or self, but they're things that move in the right direction in which, the created and made you to be and to do. And so I'm never going to encourage you to do something that is daunting, to do something that may cause calamity, okay? Do something that will cause you some consequences and repercussions later that don't produce good fruit. No, I'm going to tell you always, hey, check yourself. Check yourself first. Take a look at things, look over some things, gather your information, right? And then get understanding. Because if you sometimes just do things off based on information and you haven't fact checked that information, that causes us a whole lot of trouble. So this is not, telling you go begin this, go begin that, go be no, 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 no. This is literally encouraging you to take again some self inventory, right? Exercise some self control, exercise some self awareness. Look over your life, look over where you are, and make a decision. Is there still some things while we're at the beginning of this calendar year, which we're coming into a close of a first quarter? Are there still some things that I really need to set as priority? I really need to get set in place. And does that mean I need to make a necessary beginning? Nothing happens again just by happenstance. Nothing happens just again you waiting in limbo. You got to make a move. Okay. And a lot of times it starts with a change of perspective, a change of a stance, a change of an outlook. Sometimes it's not just, outwardly things. Sometimes it has nothing to do with other people, but it's something within that you need to, make a change with. And literally it just start with, making a necessary beginning. Maybe you need to talk more positive. Maybe you need to think more positive. Maybe there's some things that have been lingering for far too long, and you need to begin to process it so you can heal, so you can recover. Maybe there may some things, some people, some places, again, that far too long you've been harboring, and it's weighing heavy on your heart, and you need to forgive. That requires a necessary beginning. And so this is something that can be again seen at multiple levels. It has multiple, purposes. It's multifaceted. And so think of this at where it fits for you and where you are in your life. Okay. And again, I am encouraging you, don't just get up and go running. Because we do that sometimes. Because again, we human. Sometimes we get rambunctious. Sometimes we get real ambitious. Sometimes we be like, oh, and we could just go with it. And again, and the results and the outcome can be some issues. That's not always the case. But again, just be wise. You know, do your work. And a lot of times, a lot of things that I speak about, they're not easy for many, because it causes you to look within. It causes you to, do some work. It causes you to, shift focus. Again, it takes away, the blame mentality. Because again, we can always blame others. We can blame others for a lot of things, but what does that resolve? And again, I'm never going to advocate that people, that when, issues have happened and you have challenges with people and conflicts with people, I'm never telling you to dismiss dysfunction, abuse, neglect. I'm not ever telling you to do that. But I'm also that this doesn't speak to that. That has its place. And a lot of time that requires another level of type of work. But I'm speaking to things that concerning you personally. Okay. And I'm not ever going to advocate for you to, be muzzled about, mistreatment, or anything like that. No, that needs to be properly addressed. I'm speaking to, just you looking within, taking a look at, the course of your life and, seeing are your steps ordered, are you just here and existing, but you're not living. Okay. And so this is what that speaks to today. And again, if any of those other issues that I just mentioned happen to be, something that comes up while you doing this reflection, while you assessing, your life is, I encourage you, to get the proper help, that you need to properly address those things. If you've tried all you've tried and it's still, it's no resolve, or there's issues with resolving it and you need help in that area, seek professional help for that. And again, I'm not ever telling you to be quiet about mistreatment, maltreatment, or any such. There's a lot of services and help available for that. Get with someone that you can trust, that you trust, that can understand you. Okay. Not no yes man, not nobody that's just gonna, babysit, but somebody that's really going to help you process, heal and overcome. Okay. And so that's it for this week's midweek mentor moment. And again, I'm Dr. Dowd, a prevention advocate. If you're new to my station, my channel, okay, how you can reach me is always in the comments, drdowdconsults.com. There you can find many of the products and the services that I offer. If there's anything, excuse me, that you come across that you really don't fully understand, you can always reach out to my team. We respond to inquiries and questions in the order which they are received. Okay. Be well. All right. Prosper well. Be in good health. Do your work. Do your best. Okay. Get some rest. Okay. All right. Yep. Get some rest. And a lot of times, that starts with, being forgiven, forgive self, forgive others, being forgiven, bear graciously. Okay. And I want to encourage you. This is not the time in the season to be frantic, panic. This is not the time of season to be beating up on yourself or beating up on others. Okay. If you having a day and it ain't a good day, you go on somewhere and sit down, but don't mess up nobody else's. Okay. And if somebody else is not having a good day, all right, and they done told you once, they done told you twice, go and leave them folks alone and you go on about your business. Maybe you can catch up with them another day. Okay. Balance and boundaries. Okay. And so, yes, with that being said, that masterclass registration is still available. We are less than 2 weeks away for that class. It's going to be good, y'all. Go grab your seat. If it's not for you, perhaps share with somebody else that this information may be useful, for. Okay. Have a great one. Until next time, chat soon and peace.